Hello, you're watching Entertainment Week. Coming up on the show, Mad Men's Jon Hamm joins us in the studio to talk trading 60s chic for futuristic horror. Brian Blessed tells us about taking on one of Shakespeare's most iconic characters. Man of the moment Eddie Redmayne on the pressures of playing a genius. And Martin Freeman says goodbye to Middle-earth for the final Hobbit film. First, let's catch up on the week's entertainment news. There is flash photography coming up. Miners' strike drama Pride won 3 prizes at the British Independent Film Awards, while Emma Thompson was honoured for her outstanding contribution to British film. Michael Keaton's Birdman earned the most Golden Globe nominations with 7, but not far behind were The Imitation Game and Boyhood with 5. 3 Brits, Benedict Cumberbatch, Eddie Redmayne and David Oyelowo are up for Best Actor. Leaked emails revealed a top Sony producer branded Angelina Jolie a spoilt brat. Dr. Dre was named the highest paid musician of 2014 after the producer sold Beats Music for $3 billion to Apple. Joan Rivers' daughter has been left in charge of the comedian's fortune and is tasked with giving much of the £97 million sum away to charity. J.K. Rowling has given Potter fans an early Christmas present. She's releasing 12 new short stories on her Pottermore website. And William and Kate rub shoulders with music royalty. Beyoncé and Jay-Z at a basketball game in New York. Now, Jon Hamm's name has become synonymous with suave sophistication thanks to his award-winning role as advertising genius Don Draper in Mad Men. But his latest part is altogether more sinister. He stars in the new instalment of Charlie Brooker's dystopian series Black Mirror. And although it's called White Christmas, it's not your usual festive fare.
So, Claire, she's my wife. She's British. Like her.
And I'm your wife, in fact.
Claire found out I was involved and took what you might call a dim view. She blocked me. You ever been blocked?
I've had enough, Matthew. It's done. Not this time.
Drives you crazy.
And Jon joins me now. Jon, this looks absolutely great, but it's not something you'd watch on Christmas Day. It's pretty dark, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I think the Brits have a lovely tradition of dark things on Christmas. You can trace that all the way back to Dickens. You know, it doesn't have the lightness at the end that maybe A Christmas Carol does, but it does, I think, revel in that tradition quite well.
And what is it about this role that particularly attracted you?
I had the very good fortune to meet with Charlie, and he was telling me about this idea that he had percolating and maybe writing a Christmas special for Black Mirror. And I thought, wow, that would be really cool. You should do that. That sounds really awesome. And never thinking he would think of me to be in it. And then a couple weeks after I'd met him, he sent over a script and said, "What do you think? Do you want to be in this?" And I said, "Yes, I really do."
The broad sort of theme of the series is that technology is sort of taking over in a very dark way. I mean, do you share that concern? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Things like that?
I have a very minimal social media profile. In fact, it's non-existent. So it's as minimal as you can possibly get. But I understand that it's a part of life for a lot of people, and it's definitely a part of the younger generation, and there is no kind of differentiation between the virtual and the literal anymore for that generation, and I feel very old when I talk about things like that on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, because it holds no appeal to me, and all it does is make me feel like my father.
There's a great quote from George Clooney. He said, "If you're famous and on Twitter, you're a moron." Do you think that's pretty fair?
Well, there's a reason I'm not on Twitter. I guess I'll put it that way. But that's a pretty salient point. I mean, it's as actors and celebrities and living your life in the public eye, you give up enough privacy. It seems very curious that the choice to give up even more. And I know there are many people that use Twitter for the sort of greater good and use it to promote social progress and progressive things. But mostly it's just talking about sandwiches and making bad jokes.
And recently, I mean, we've seen technology doing terrible things like the nude photo leaks with the likes of Jennifer Lawrence. It can go through some unfortunate machinations, really. Can't
Yeah,
it?
I mean, a part of living your life in a digital world is knowing the fact that anybody. I mean, we just recently had a massive breach at Sony again. Where a lot of sensitive information was leaked out to whoever, and of course it's meant to be private and it's not meant to be shared, and it's, if a criminal wants to get his hands on it, he certainly can. It's apparently not that difficult.
Recently we saw you back in Britain for Playhouse Presents on Sky. British TV is luring you over here.
I love working over here. I mean, I have a ton of friends over here, both in the industry and separate from it, and I find that there are opportunities to do things that are a little bit different and a little bit less time-consuming, certainly for the most part, than most American TV projects. Young Doctor's Notebook with Dan Radcliffe was one of those, where it was a relatively short time commitment, but something very interesting, and we got to work at a pretty high level in something I thought that was very dark and funny and intelligent and different. And so it seems to be calling me over here, but I love working over here, and I love being over here.
Talking of huge time commitments, you were doing Mad Men since 2007, wasn't it?
Yes, we shot the pilot in 2006.
My goodness.
April of 2006, yeah. So almost, by the time it's finished airing, it will be close to a decade.
Wow, and has filming completely finished? Have you totally finished?
We did.
that
We
series?
finished on July 3rd, and I've been sitting on the knowledge of how this television program ends since then, and will continue to do so until I think mid-April is when it will eventually air.
We're all going to be so unbelievably distraught when it's over. I mean, how did you feel when you finished filming? Were there some tears?
Sure. It was a rather long day. We had a lot of people's final day was the last day. So there were a lot of speeches and a lot of hugs and a lot of tears and a lot of laughter, and it ended in a sort of massive drinking session at around 2 in the morning. So it was obviously it was the end of a massive chapter in all of our lives as actors and as people. You know, most of us weren't very famous when the show started, and a lot of us got significantly more so as the series progressed. And so we're all still very, very close friends and remain in each other's lives and consider each other family in some weird way. So, and we'll always have this wonderful experience to look back on and say that we shared it. So it was bittersweet, is the best way I can say.
Did you know from the moment you read that first pilot script that, you know, it was going to be so successful? Because the writing's so fantastic, everything about it, the characters, the storylines.
There's so many things that can go wrong, you know, from here to there in a TV show, that you hope that they make the right decisions all the way through. The script was wonderful. But then, you know, from writing to shooting, there's one hurdle you have to clear. Well, we cleared that hurdle, and then marketing is another hurdle, and programming is another hurdle, and it's just everything becomes a question of, is this where they're going to louse it all up? And for our, you know, to our great credit, everybody on the team, the various teams that were there, that were set to promote and publicize and produce Mad Men, did excellent work. So it was a consistent version of being pleasantly surprised at what was coming across.
You mentioned there that success came to you reasonably late in Hollywood terms. Do you think that was a good thing in some ways, given how crazy the industry is?
I mean, I can't imagine dealing with the likes of success and fame and being a young person in this landscape. I can't imagine it. There's so many. If you look at Miley Cyrus or Jennifer Lawrence or any of these people, it's just I can't. And they're handling it with relative grace and aplomb. You know, they seem to be enjoying themselves. They seem to be relatively, well-adjusted people in the world. I mean, it's a tricky landscape to navigate, and you have a lot of people that want a lot of things from you. And it's hard to say no a lot of times to a lot of things, especially when you're young and you think you're bulletproof and nothing, you're going to live forever and you'll be famous forever. And so it comes with its own set of caveats. Getting famous later, getting famous, period, I think comes with its own set of caveats. But it's you know, to get the opportunity to do anything in this industry is a wonderful stroke of luck, and being in the right place at the right time, and all of those kind of aphorisms. But I feel incredibly fortunate every day. I wake up and get to go to work on whether it's Black Mirror or Mad Men or Bridesmaids or Saturday Night Live or any of the things I've gotten the good fortune to do. I'm just happy they keep calling me.
Brilliant. Well, have a very lovely Christmas. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. For an actor with a career as long and varied as Brian Blessed, you'd think he wouldn't have many firsts left. But in January, he'll play Shakespeare's King Lear on stage for the very first time. And he'll be doing it alongside his daughter. I'm delighted to say that Brian joins us now. Brian, lovely to see you.
It's marvellous to be here. Wonderful. Love being on Sky Television. Terrific. I love this building.
You say all the right things. Thank
I
you
say all the
so
right
much.
things, yes. Well, I mean, I think that it's about time I did Lear. I think Kenneth Branagh persuaded me. He's one of the few actors I know, Ken, and he said, do it, do it, do it. I said, I know why you want me to do it, because you're going to play it one day and you haven't got any idea how to play it.
Because it's one of Shakespeare's greatest tragedies, isn't it? Is it unbelievably exhausting to play?
Well, I always feel with Shakespeare that the Blue Planet has had its author, and that it would be greedy to want anyone better than Shakespeare. But I always feel the best Shakespeare is done all over the world, in villages, in towns, etc. And I think that we can treat Shakespeare too reverently. I think that we have to create a healthy disrespect for Shakespeare, so that you can therefore approach it and make it organic and make it very, very real.
And you're starring on stage with your daughter. Does that mean that you have to be on best behaviour?
Oh, yes, I don't know. She always thinks I'm a vagabond and wild, and she's wild. We're very similar. So that she's playing Goneril, who is a kind of chip off the old block anyway. And we have some terrifying scenes together. And I've not discussed them with her. I think that I shall just do it when I do it. And I hope. And she will shock me and I'll shock her. You know, because he's always telling her off. Do not make me mad. He says things like, don't make me mad. Do not make me mad, and so forth. And she does make him very mad at times.
I heard that one of your most embarrassing moments ever was to do with Shakespeare, in fact, with Hamlet. Tell us about that.
I was the king, and I came forward as the King of Denmark, and I walked forward, and there was tremendous kind of lighting on sets, and music, and scores of people, Royal Shakespeare Company, Bjornsson sets, and they all came forward, and bells all pealing, waiting for me to come on as the King of Denmark. And I was in gold and silver. And as I walked on the first night, everything went still and quiet. And the opening lines are, though yet of Hamlet our dear brother's death, the memory be green. And as I stepped forward to say these, somebody in the cast just behind me, as I was just about, went, and it was just this flatulence. I cannot cope with people breaking wind. On stage or in films, I can't ever cope. I can't cope. And he echoed round the theatre on the first, and it's Michael Caine or Marjorie. The whole audience is full of dignitaries, and I'm just about to speak, and I did the first three speeches in a very straight voice. I couldn't do the first. And the Royal Shakespeare Company management the next day, I was brought to their office and admonished and told off. That was disgraceful, absolutely disgraceful, your behaviour. But I can't cope with farts.
There'll be none here, I promise.
I promise. Yeah, there you go.
You've had such a long and varied career. I mean, what stands out for you? Because I didn't realise you were in Peppa Pig.
Oh my goodness.
I've got a little boy, and I was listening to it the other day, and you appeared.
Well, ridiculous in my at my age, I'm suddenly working with Black Sabbath and heavy metal and getting big awards from heavy metal and making records with them. And then I was at the O2 Arena and in front of thousands of people, and they're all cheering me and asking me to say Gordon's alive. Gordon's alive from Flash Gordon. And they're all cheering and cheering. And then they said, and we wish to announce that Brian is Grampy Rabbit in Peppa Pig. And it's huge. I mean, they all have the same face, don't they? A little pig. And I am Grampy Rabbit who looks after this lighthouse. And when the lighthouse doesn't work and the ships are going to crash into the rocks, the only way I can stop them not crashing is by shouting, "Fog!" and it stops them crashing into the rocks. So I am Grampy Rabbit, and it made me world famous. It's more than Flash Gordon, it's more than anything I've done. Grampy Rabbit. But I must say that I was once halfway up Kilimanjaro, and the Maasai warrior, it was a little wooden hut, and he was nearby, and he said to me, please come in my hut, please, for me, say, Gordon's alive. And I said, Gordon's alive, to all these Maasai warriors. So I think that Flash Gordon is going to play it all over the world.
I think both of them are. Brian, thank you so much for joining us. Very lovely to see you, and good luck with the theatre.
You'll have a great time.
Time to see what's on at the cinema this weekend, and the big release is the final instalment in the Hobbit trilogy.
I'll go.
Don't be ridiculous. You'll never make it.
Why not?
Because they will see you coming and kill you.
No, they won't. They won't see me.
It's out of the question. I won't allow it.
I'm not asking you to allow it, Gandalf.
Our film critic Joe joins me now. Joe, I went to the premiere of this, and I have to say it was the biggest premiere I've been to all year in terms of popularity. Yeah. It's the last one. It's still going strong, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, here we are, 15 years or so on.
15 years?
Yeah, after 6 films, finally we reached the end of this.
That's with the Lord of the Rings as well,
Yeah, of course, yeah. Finally we reached the end. If you watch the Battle of the Five Armies and you've seen the other 5, it means you sat through 17 hours of Middle-earth movies.
Have you done that?
Well, I don't think anyone has done that, because I think I defy anyone to sit through these films and not nod off for about 10 minutes in each one. So you probably lop an hour off. That's not to say they're just not engaging. They're just very sort of complicated, aren't they? And they're quite heavy going at some points. This one, you're straight into the action. You have Benedict Cumberbatch's dragon, Smaug.
Again.
Yeah, again. Tearing up Lake Town, basically. But it feels like at the very natural end of the movie, and you've still got an hour and 45 minutes after this massive destruction in it. And I think, you know, Peter Jackson was criticised by some people for trying to break up The Hobbit into 3 movies when it's a very small book. And I think maybe it suffers, this last one, because of that. Basically what it is, it's not a spoiler to say, it's a battle of 5 armies. I mean, it's there in the title. It's basically the equivalent of an orc saying to an elf, let's take it outside. You know, it's literally just a massive $200 million tear-up. And it gets a little CGI heavy. It becomes less of a live-action movie, more of an animation. For me, it just, I mean, maybe it's a fitting finale for like real Hobbit fans, but for me, I just got a little bit bored in it, to be honest. But
oh, and did you say this to Martin Freeman when you met him?
Of course I didn't, but I did speak to Martin Freeman, and he doesn't actually have too much to do in this, so I started off by sort of chatting about that. Because you almost had the least to do in this film, really, didn't you?
Don't rub it in.
Yeah.
God, I know.
You should be putting your big hairy feet up, but you're fine. You don't worry about it.
Yes, yeah. It might look like I had the least to do, but you should see what I was doing behind the scenes.
And the battle, I mean, you get your sword out, you get your little chainmail out. I mean, are those days on set just completely sort of tiring because you're sort of fighting these guys in grey suits?
Yeah, they're quite tiring, but they're also quite invigorating because you know you have to be engaged physically and mentally. Because when you're having fighty stuff, you have to kind of be on point. Otherwise, you'll get a sword wrapped around your head.
It's at the end of a trilogy or the end of a big franchise, people go, it's really sad, I'm going to miss everyone.
Do they
say
really
that? They really do. Wow. You made me laugh a lot, actually, this week. You're like, no, I don't think it's sad at all.
But it's not
really.
sad. I mean, it's not sad, you know, because I'm not mentally ill. Yeah. You know, I mean, I am in some ways about some things, but you know, it's a film that I can watch on DVD if I miss anything. Do you know what I mean?
Is there an element of sadness to the fact that, you know, it's a huge part of your life? And
oh yeah, but that's just for me. But that's genuinely
thing.
not. I mean, I'm honestly not trying to be, you know, quippy. Martyr. It's like I acknowledge it's a huge part of my life. I'm very happy and proud to have done it and to be part of it. It's one of the biggest jobs I will ever do, clearly, and one of the most important jobs I'll ever do. But no, I'm not sad about it at all, no.
So he's not sad it's over.
I'm
Sounds
not that
like
sad.
You're not that sad it's over.
Let's not be too harsh, though, because it's a magnificent body of work by Peter Jackson. 6 movies. I think the best thing you can say about it, it won't be rebooted again. This is the definitive take of Middle-earth. And it's a great compliment when you think of Batman and Superman and superhero movies. They're all making again. This is the take. So, you know, not perhaps for me, but a fine body of work.
OK. my favourite film of the week, possibly the year.
Wow, big
We're going to talk about
Lucy.
now The Theory of Everything. This
Yeah.
is starring Eddie Redmayne. Before we talk about it, let's take a look.
Are you going to talk about this or not?
Please, will you just go?
Is that what you want?
Yes, it is what I want, so please, if you care about me at all, then please just go.
I can't.
I have 2 years to live. I need to work.
I love you.
This is an absolutely beautiful film based on Jane Hawking's memoir, and it will surprise some people because it's about the relationship between Stephen Hawking and his wife, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, when we think of Stephen Hawking now, we think of the voice and the wheelchair. This is very much of him and his pomp, really, at Cambridge University. The charmer, the charismatic scientist, the one who got the girl, all that kind of stuff. A beautiful performance by Eddie Redmayne. Such a difficult performance as well. Sort of, he had to, freeze every sort of facial muscle and walk on sticks, and they filmed it out of sequence and that kind of stuff. Fantastic performance. Will it be better than Benedict Cumberbatch's? I can't say Cumberbatch today.
I think
Alan
it
Turing.
is better. And I was speaking to Eddie at the premiere this week, and he was saying that, one, it was an unbelievably difficult performance, and also that Stephen Hawking has got this aura, that this charisma that you can't quite put your finger on. It's a fascinating film, and great to speak to Eddie Redmayne.
The real difficulty was just the sense of responsibility. Stephen and Jane and Jonathan and the family are such extraordinary people that both Felicity and I felt the weight of, if you're playing someone who is living and is going to see the film, you're going to get the ultimate review from them. So that was the difficulty.
Talking to the director, you did an incredible amount of research for months beforehand. What did that entail?
I went to a neurology clinic called the Queen Square Neurology Clinic and met with specialists there who introduced me to many people suffering from MND and their families. And they were incredibly generous at letting both Felicity and I go to their homes and see the emotional cost as well as the physical cost, but also like the sort of strength of the triumph of spirit, like amazingly optimistic, brilliant people.
So Eddie's up for a Golden Globe, as is Benedict Cumberbatch, so that's going to be the real sort of battle, isn't it? And I reckon at the Oscars as well, and then also Felicity Jones.
Yeah, I mean, not talking about Felicity Jones, are we? But she's up for this as well for a Globe, much deserved as well. But yeah,
she plays Jane Hawking.
Yeah, the headlines are going to be Cumberbatch versus Eddie Redmayne. They're very similar sort of characters as well, aren't they? Sort of quite posh, both announce their engagements in the Times, all that kind of stuff, playing historical figures, and the Academy loves historical biopic.
The Oscars are going to be good fun this year.
Really
if
good.
The Brits are up for lots.
So yeah, it can be interesting to see which way it goes. But go see both of the films because they're fantastic performances by both actors.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Joe. And that's all for now. On next week's show, comedian Al Murray reveals the secrets of the great British spy movies. As Hammer Horror celebrates its 80th year, we talk to the studio boss about its enduring appeal. And we'll be reviewing all the big Christmas movie releases. See you then.